Welcome to Swayam massive open online course on NGO and sustainable development. Although most of the countries today aspire themselves to place in the arena of global emerging technology and economic development, sustainable development has been the key term which has gained major importance in recent conventions and scenario. In the name of economic development, the price of environment damage is paid in the form of land degradation, soil erosion, air pollution, water pollution and deforestation. This damage may surpass the advantage of having more quality output of goods and services. In today's lecture, I am pleased to introduce with you what is sustainable development, the goals of sustainable development, the examples of sustainable development, advantages for aspiring to have sustainable development, how NGOs work on sustainable development, and 3 interesting case studies who have contributed to sustainable development. Sustainable development can be defined as an approach to the economic development of a country without compromising with the quality of the environment for future generation. Sustainable development goals can be classified into two. Two predominant goals of sustainable development is that to promote the kind of development that minimizes environmental problems, to meet the needs of the existing generation without compromising with the quality of the environment for future generation. There are plethora of examples to talk about sustainable development. However, some of the classic examples of sustainable development is introduction of wind energy and solar energy. With the depletion of non-renewable source of power like electricity, importance of wind energy and solar energy even for commercial purposes today across the globe has made us feel the importance for having wind energy and solar energy as an alternate source of renewable power for non-renewable source of energies. These crop rotation practices followed by farmers is one another classic example of sustainable development. The crop rotation practices done by the farmers not only contributes to the total yield, not only appreciates the yield of the farmer, also helps the farmer in making optimum source of input for his entire process. The sustainable construction practices like the green building techniques which is being adopted across the globe is one another classic example for sustainable development. Sustainable forestry has been gaining major importance in the recent scenario. Sustainable forestry has gained importance because the imbalance between the wildlife and mankind is a predominant problem faced by any developing country, also by the developed countries. The introduction of sustainable forestry and the practices adopted by sustainable forestry have to a greater extent contributed to the total sustainable development across the globe. Now that we have seen examples of sustainable developments, let us see the advantages of having sustainable development. Sustainable development preserves the natural sources, protects the environment, provides basic needs to all, controls climate change which is seen to be a catastrophic problem faced by many of the countries, provides financial stability and also helps in sustaining the biodiversity. Sustainable development can be achieved if we following the following points. It can be achieved by restricting human activities. Technological development should be input effective and not input utilizing. The rate of consumption should not surpass the rate of salvation. For renewable sources, the rate of consumption should not surpass the rate of production of renewable substitutes. All type of pollution should be minimized. It can be achieved by sensible use of natural resources. Now, let us see the predominant problems in the 21st century and consequences faced because of those problems and how NGOs can help us fix these problems. Some of the predominant problems that we face in the 21st century is: one is the climate change problem that is being faced across all countries invariable of their geographic position, over exploitation of natural resources by growing population, destruction of vegetation for construction and other industrialization purposes, unmindful agriculture intensification, overuse of marginal lands, imbalanced use of fertilizers, deteriorating soil health, misuse and inefficient use of irrigation water, depleting aquifers are some of the problems that we face in the 21st century. Consequences of these problems can be classified as salination of fertile lands and waterlogging, deforestation, biodiversity loss and genetic erosion, land degradation, soil erosion, landslides, floods, drought and unbalanced ecosystem. There is a greater attention to the management of water, forest and land in order to mitigate pressure on the natural resources. When we see this management practice, NGOs, the non-government organization, play a very crucial role. It is not always the government organization which can flex its muscles to address all the problems on the ground, but when it comes to a participation of the local agencies and local persons, the contribution made by the synergic participation and the contribution made by the NGOs have played a phenomenal role. The role of NGOs are: the NGOs contribute significantly by undertaking research and publication on environment development related issues. It is necessary to support and encourage genuine small local level NGOs in different parts of the country, which can provide much needed institutional support specific to the local needs. The importance of public awareness and NGOs involvement in environmental protection is acknowledged worldwide. NGOs have been taking a number of steps to promote discussion and debate about environment issues outside the broad spheres of popular media and the education system. Advocacy and awareness is especially crucial in promoting concepts such as sustainable development, natural resource conservation and the restoration of ecosystems. NGOs can sensitize policymakers about the local needs and priorities. They can often intimate the policymakers about the interests of both the poor and the ecosystem as a whole. In providing training faculties, NGOs can play a significant role. NGOs can act as a critical interface between business houses and the societal concerns. NGOs can be the implementation agencies for the companies which do not have time or resources to contribute towards the society. Certain NGO collaborations have made a phenomenal contribution to sustainable development. Business houses can rely for the implementation of their CSR initiatives on the NGO. The connect of the NGOs with the grassroots would help the companies. 21st century would see an increase in the number of such collaborators and such collaborations and synergies between the corporates and the NGOs through the Companies Act of 2013, which would play as an enabler. There are many such existing collaboration which have reached success. Some of the key examples of existing collaborations are the Koch and Manhattan Foundation collaboration, the Microsoft and Smile Foundation collaboration, the NTPC and Can Kids collaboration, Birla Groups and Child India Foundation collaboration. These 4 collaborations wherein the corporates and the NGO collaboration have to a greater extent made a phenomenal role in contributing to the sustainable development. Now let us discuss the second interesting case study of SAG women federating into a non-profit organization. The Kirapalayam case study of Kadalur district is the second interesting case study that we would discuss now. The backdrop of Kirapalayam case unfolds in a unique experience where women were mobilized in group and helped them in acquiring masonry and plumbing skills for constructing the household toilets and repairing of Watson facilities on an entrepreneurial basis, which not only provided employment opportunity to involved women but also enabled the panchayat area clean, tidy and free from disease arising out of poor sanitary conditions. Kirapalayam Panchayat has surely moved ahead in ensuring better water and sanitation services, adhering to the principles of community participation. There has been huge support from the community in the water and sanitation program, reflected in the form of community cash contribution, participation in program implementation, monitoring, etc. The participation of women has been commendable. In fact, the real catalysts have been women. Achievement has no color, but in Kirapalayam case, It is visible in facts. The practice of open defecation has totally been arrested in the village. All the houses have constructed their own household toilets and are full in use. One community toilet, which was constructed to cater to individual households of the village, is now being used by the persons visiting to the local market. All the schools and Anganwadis have been provided with water and sanitation facilities. The impacts of Watson Drive in Kirapalayam are: no death due to communicable disease in the last 3 years, zero dropout rate in last 3 years, supply of safe drinking water to all, practice of women defecation elimination, clean and green environment. The SAG model of case of Kirapalayam certainly has potential to be replicated. A well planned program trusting in abilities of SAG may help in replicating. The convergence in various department program has shown the benefits that can be doubled on sustained basis if implemented in planned way. Increased income, better empowerment of women, increased coverage of water and sanitation with improved maintenance, low burden of disease due to clean and healthy environment, and so on are just few examples that find the concrete facts in the case of Kirapalayam. Such examples are waiting to become facts in other villages, thanks to the efforts made by the self-help group members. The third case study and the interesting case study that we would discuss is the DONE project. By using DONE project as a case study in progress, perhaps we can elaborate on the potential of reimagining urban planning and the policies we could put in place to achieve holistic developmental growth. The DONE project aspires to create a microcosm in a 500-acre ecological reserve comprising of living, working, learning, recreational and research places for a community that can support itself. Situated on the outskirts of Jaipur, the project started its journey on degenerated, barren and with no water source. The priority was to address basic fundamentals of life: water, food and air, which are considered to be shared resources of the community, and therefore the size of the settlement is determined by what the land can support in perpetuity while being off the grid. Over the past 6 years, before the commencement of any structural work, the team had planted over 2,70,000 local trees under permaculture to grow produce, and built robust water system that harvests over 400 million liters of rainwater. Using hyperlocal materials like lime, reclaimed stone and rammed earth, along with the vernacular methodologies, skill sets and craftsmanship, they are creating a thermodynamically efficient, low carbon footprint, regenerative built habitat. By leveraging collective human consciousness and wisdom through exponential technologies and integrating ancient knowledge systems, they are developing contextuality relevant structural frameworks for education, commerce, recreation and the workplace. It aims to build a physical and social environment that provides people with freedom, opportunities and access to global ecosystem to realize the trust potential. The team developed polymath thinking and learning through multidisciplinary and inter-age collaborations on real-time projects. Co-parent treats and co-create water bodies initiatives built on game theory offered as plug-and-play models to contribute to local ecology, community-led economic nutrition for incubation program, designing cognitive environments to enhance physical potential, pandemic-proof supply chain and planning principles, and the use of carbon credit currency are some of the examples of their unconventional approach. By thinking about consumption and available resource in fundamentally different ways, DONE is re-engineering capital requirements and barriers to entry for such large-scale projects. Given its fundamental value proposition and relevance in the current times, it hopes to make the mode financially sustainable and scalable. Enterprises such as DONE could be new foundation to fully realize what is possible in the helm of living development practices. When expanded, it could create a decentralized network of regenerative futuristic settlements that reimagine the conception and leveraged untapped human potential, collective heritage, diversity and exponential technologies to bring self-sufficiency among communities with costing them their environments or identities. But projects such as DONE often face systematic immunity, where their approach to development is at odds with regulatory frameworks. Case in point, initiatives for regenerating local ecologies that make projects self-sufficient on fundamental level is not accepted as development. Financial institutions tend to have an unidimensional understanding of returns. Their mandate, for example, will make it easier for them to fund commercial projects that use 60% of the land, those that choose to build at least 15% of land, even if the model ensures long-term societal and environmental sustainability. DONE is just one example. With worldwide recognition and increased sanctioning of public and private funds for United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, it is primarily the inertia and lethargy of regulatory systems to experiment and adapt to changing needs, outmoded ways of thinking, and red tape that makes it difficult for the private sector to develop whole system business model which address elemental public needs. More time passes, more irreversible damage is unwittingly caused. A whole system thinking approach to development is warranted, and there is plenty that can be done. Government investments, priorities, policies and non-negotiables ought to be measured in long terms of 3 P's: people, product and process returns. Business models that address fundamental public needs, once their potential 3P impact is validated by domain experts, could be given a free hand to build their own methodologies, so long as they are achieving meta goals for holistic development defined and enforced by the government. Most innovative ideas require the most flexible ecosystems. For example, recognizing context-specific learning curriculums, building code based on local ecologies, legal framework to facilitate crowd pooling of resources for large-scale community projects, like accepting the tokenization in real estate development. Government can facilitate change in class of capital being used in urban development, thereby being instrumental in championing habitats developed by people, of the people and for the people. It is the communities themselves who can best define their problems and often devise the most creative and resource efficient solution. Consider the example of I Love Jaisalmer, a community initiative responsible for Jaisalmer's largest cleanliness and conservation drive, or the rain-fed communal farming system of the Kardans practiced by local communities in the Thar Desert. Government through virtual centers could provide communities access to network, intellectual and financial capital, thereby setting community projects for success. Using the technologies like blockchain, government can enforce accountability, all the while creating paradigm shifts and fostering decentralized models and distributed authorities. Governments could play a massive role in creating positive feedback loops in society for doing good at a societal level. Many available technology could objectively create social pedigree and measurable incentives for doing good. For example, assigning carbon credit ratings based on multitude of lifestyle using factors and choices that could also be used as a currency for tax breaks. Financially incentivizing reuse, zero waste, conservation of biodiversity, preserving ancient knowledge systems, skill transfer and local job creation could go a long way towards increasing private participation in solving large-scale public problems. It cannot be emphasized enough that we are at the crossroad. Our futures are dependent on how soon we stop using archaic response mechanisms created for a time that are being rendered obsolete. Our willingness to connect, collaborate and co-create, and our ability to adapt exponential technologies to create solutions is and will ensure we don't endanger a few victors at the cost of many unfortunate losers, our planet included. Moving forward, how we can influence the participation of NGOs and government organizations in sustainable development is that we enhance the existing collaborations with the NGOs by the corporates, leveraging the expertise and grassroots connect of the NGOs to create and implement scalable and replicable projects in natural resource management, a more serious and financial resource commitment by the businesses to the NGOs, meticulous planning and structured efforts towards sustainability, monitoring by way of impact assessment and CSR audit could could be the way forward in the NGO and sustainable development partnership. NGOs at current face several problems to which they are not always prepared for. Let's see the 4 predominant problems of NGOs and the solutions to each problem. First problem is lack of funds. An NGO goal doesn't lie on accomplishing a project alone. After the success of certain project, NGOs would want to maintain certain contact with their beneficiaries and make sure continuous progress is happening. Apart from that, NGOs would also want to be able to help more individuals and communities depending on their needs. To do so, NGOs need to constantly acquire funds. In some cases, NGOs become complacent and simply wait for donations or previous supporters to contact them. This practice will in no way contribute to the successes of an NGO. Although partner organizations and supporters will want to continually support an NGO causes, they may possibly see more potential in other organizations and decide to fund others instead. Not having enough funds not only pose difficulties in accomplishing projects, but it also put NGOs in jeopardy given that there are also many operational costs. Solution to this problem is that although NGO at current possibly has numerous partners who fund for your projects, that shouldn't be an excuse to grow complacent in searching for new opportunities. Always research for the complacent in searching for new opportunities. Always researching for latest grants and offerings, funding opportunities for NGO and even small grants for NGO would help them in a great way. While searching for additional funders would benefit the long run of the NGO, it certainly wouldn't be enough. The end goal should always be acquiring funds and not simply getting hold of grant funding agencies. The secret to receiving various grants is simple. To avoid partner organization having second thoughts, create well crafted proposal. Investing in necessary trainings if needed, as things can bring many good opportunities. Maintaining good relationship with partners and NGO will likewise be helpful in growing as an organization. The second predominant problem is no strategic planning. At times, many bright ideas can come to place, but it can also cause confusions and stray away from the initial goal. Although many good ideas come, sometimes they don't always remain in line with goals set out. Solution for this problem is that although some organization may already be experienced and their employees are familiar with operations, coaching and training every now and then can still be helpful. In every situation, employees and volunteers will inevitably pick something up and able to apply it for further development of the organization. Third problem is absence of networking. NGOs working together to reach their same goal more efficiently is one perspective. However, some NGOs also see it as a form of competition. For some reasons, there are NGOs who believe getting closer to other NGOs or non-profits will cause them to have more competition in terms of applying for grants. Solution for this problem is having a mindset that NGOs should be seen as competition is unhealthy. If other NGOs get approved of grants, it should in fact be seen as an opportunity to partner and learn from them. Making use of technology could help in making networks within their space. The internet keeps us updated with events which the NGOs can attend and keep us in contact with their non-profits too. Fourth problem is lack of maintenance. In many developing countries, the lack of infrastructure is quite common and NGOs believe that people deserve a better standard of living. Thus, many NGOs have decided to address this issue by building communities beneficial to a lot of individuals. Initially, results are evident and people live a better life, but it should be kept in mind that not all communities have the capacity to maintain the same lifestyle they were expected to have. Without proper maintenance, the benefits to their living standards may only be temporary. Additionally, having a number of projects which do not have lasting results will also affect the NGO's capacity to gain funds. Grant funding agencies will rather give to those who can prove their capacity to implement and maintain on long-term basis. This problem is, given the number of communities in developing countries and the limited funding sources for non-profit organizations, it's quite tempting to move on the next project to provide aid for other communities who are in equal desperate need of help as well. Thus, it would be best to make sure there is enough resource and manpower to both maintain an existing project and begin a new one. It will be better to successfully accomplish just a few projects with lasting impact rather than accomplishing a lot but with temporary results. In the end, a slow but sure process, it is still more effective as compared to handling more than the NGO's capacity. Thank you.